All right. Hello, everybody. I am Lindsay with A Children's House for the Soul, a community for those with skin conditions. And I am so excited today to share with you some of my dear friends. I have Zach and his mom, Susan, and they are going to talk to us today about all kinds of things about themselves, but we also are celebrating a little bit National Ectodermal Dysplasia Month, Awareness Month. And so that is why these two friends are here to help us highlight and share and spread awareness and help talk about community. So Zach and Susan, thank you both so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you
Nice.
for having us.
Yes, we're happy to be here.
So let's start out just if you guys would introduce yourselves, tell us about yourself.
So I'm Zach. I am 20 years old. I'm a junior sport management major at Texas A&M University. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I am an avid golfer, baseball player, and I really love history more so than a lot of other kids my age, and classic rock.
Nice.
And as Lindsay stated earlier, my name is Susan. I'm Zach's mom. I am a employee of marine engineering company, and I also work for a small independent natural gas company. Um, I am on the board of directors for a Children's House for the Soul, which is very near and dear to my heart. And I have been a liaison with the National Foundation for Ectodermal Dysplasia for 15 years as well. So we're happy to join you guys today.
Yay! Thank you so much. Well, I'm realizing as we get started, and I think you guys would be the perfect people to help me with this. When people click on this, if they're not familiar with ectodermal dysplasia or what that means, would you guys kind of do sort of a layman's explanation for us?
So as far as I know, the term ectodermal dysplasia means that two or more layers of your ectoderm or inner layers of your skin are affected. So with me, both my hands have these two index fingers that have an extra bone each one. Then also, I'm gonna have three toes total, one on my left foot, two on my right foot. Then I'm missing about 9 or 10 teeth. And then the biggest thing is that I have not defunctioning sweat glands, but sweat glands that do not function properly, uh, making it very hard for me, who lives in Texas in the hot heat, to be outside for long periods of time. And there's different kinds of ectodermal dysplasia. I have what's called ectodactyly ectodermal dysplasia. Then there's also hypohydrotic, and then some other ones. But some kids have missing hair as well. Then some kids have like lobster claw hands per se, or webbed, kind of like this, and they only have the thumb and maybe these two fingers or the pinky and the other one. Uh, so it varies in range, but the base one throughout all of it is that they have trouble sweating and producing fluid to cool their bodies at certain times.
Yes, there's over 100 different identified types of ectodermal dysplasia, and but it's all affecting the hair, skin, teeth, and nails. And it can vary even within the specific type of ectodermal dysplasia. Not everybody is exactly the same. There are a lot of people that have very similar ways that they're affected, but then there are people that are unique in their particular type, but it's hair, skin, teeth, and nails. So there's a lot of the people that are affected by it that don't have any teeth, and then they don't have any sweat glands at all. So processing heat can be extremely difficult for them, and keeping them cool can be an extremely difficult thing to do. And just day-to-day activities can be a hard thing for someone like that to do, that we don't even think about naturally. So um, and I'm sure they're still finding more. There's lots of research being done. It is something we're learning about and continuing to learn as that grows too.
You know, the thing that I think of the most is I think until I started working with kids with special skin, I never thought of sweating as a gift. I
Mhm.
always thought of it as annoying, right? Like, especially when you're a teenager and you're like, oh my God, I'm sweating. I don't know if boys worry about that as much, Zach, but girls are like, oh, do they see that I'm sweating?
Oh,
And
I
now
was
I
just
know it's awesome to be able to sweat.
I'll say one good thing about not being able to sweat. I was good about not being able to sweat. But one good thing about it is that uh, I don't have as much BO as people who do sweat have.
There you go.
So there is a silver lining in all of it. So
I love that. I love that, Zach. You're good at finding the silver lining. I think that'll come up in this conversation a lot. I have a feeling. And you guys are teaching me things because I don't think I knew that there was over 100 different types. I don't think I knew that. So that is actually, you mentioned as you were explaining all the different types, and I wonder, Zach, if some of this you started kind of learning over the years as you were meeting kids when you would go to like NFED conferences. Would you guys talk about, maybe Susan, you can start and then sort of pass it to Zach in terms of how did you decide to go to an NFED conference? Sort of how did that come up? And then Zach, when you got there, I don't even know how old you were when you went to your first one, if you even remember.
I think we went to the first one in St. Louis when I was 6.
You
or
were
so.
6.
Yeah.
So, so when Zach was born, he obviously was missing the toes on his feet that we could tell, and he had some of the anomalies in his fingers. And we didn't know about the dental thing till he was probably about 3 and his first dental initial visit. And then one day he was at a park and he got overheated very, very quickly. And it was like late spring, so it wasn't the dead heat of summer, but he shouldn't have gotten overheated so easily at that time of year, but he did. So we got extremely worried about him. And we had just had that dental visit too. So one day I sat at the computer and I Googled missing toes, and during the dental visit, we discovered that he was missing some teeth in the x-ray. So I Googled missing toes, missing teeth, or no sweating, or heat intolerance. And the National Foundation for Ectodermal Dysplasia's website was one of the first things that popped up in the Google search. So I clicked on that and I started reading about ectodermal dysplasia, and I didn't really self-diagnose him, but this is what he has. He's got to have this. So we went to see a genetic doctor at Texas Children's Hospital who told us he had the ectodactyly ectodermal dysplasia. And then by looking on the foundation's website, I saw that they did family conferences. And I think this was 2004, 2005. And we had missed the 2004 one, and the 2005 one wasn't going to be good for our family. So we decided in 2006 to go to St. Louis and go to the foundation's conference. From what they had on their website, it looked like we could learn things from them. They had all kinds of doctors that were on their advisory board that gave presentations and then meeting with other families. What we decided to do was arm ourselves with education and be able to be our child's biggest advocate by knowing what's wrong, what can be done, what are people doing, what are other families doing, how are other families handling this. So we did that and took him, and during the course of the conference, we sat through lots of different presentations by different doctors and dermatology, dentistry, orthopedics, all kinds of different doctors that a person with ectodermal dysplasia might have to visit with, and learned quite a bit biologically why it happens and chemically. And I felt like I was in a college course in a couple of the classes we were at the first year. But then we took Zach. So during the conference, they have a kids camp. So the parents can go meet with parents and doctors, and then the children just can have playtime with other kids, and they have all kinds of activities going on. So Zach, you want to tell her what happened at your kids camp and when we came to pick you up?
Yeah. So at these conferences, they have like separate activities for the adults. That they have guest speakers and whatnot. People who have ectodermal dysplasia or other limitations. And then separately from that, they have the kids camp where kids interact with other kids who have ectodermal dysplasia or their siblings, um, and doing all sorts of just like games and stuff. I play my apples to apples BS, which you understand what that means. Different card games and whatnot, and other activities, guest speakers, musicians, whatnot. But the best part about that was getting to know other kids who had it, so you don't have the sense of feeling alone in the world. Um, that's important. That's the most important thing to get out of that is that you have this thing that no one else around you has, um, but you meet these kids that do, and you're like, wow, there's people who I can identify with and know what it's like to struggle every day with what I have, and that provides a sense of comfort, and also for my mom and dad knowing that I was not alone in the fight, and that I wasn't gonna let this tear me down or other kids didn't let it tear them down. And they still did everything else. Like kids with the hand fingers. I knew one of them, his name is Tyler. He played baseball and basketball in high school, um, and did great at it. Just know there's not any limitations to what they can do. What I can do is very reassuring.
So what we found when he went to we picked him up from the first day at this conference and his first camp ever, he was sitting on the floor with his socks and shoes off, comparing his feet to another boy who has ectodermal dysplasia, just like him. And they've stayed friends. This is a family that lives in Kansas. They've come to our house before and stayed here. And and they're in touch with each other through social media all the time. So um, that's become like a whole nother family to us, the people that are the foundation. Um, and it was just, we'd never met anybody else with this syndrome. I'd never heard of it. It took me a while to even learn how to say it correctly, because it's just maybe a small paragraph in medical books, because it's such a rare syndrome, 1 in 10,000 births, and it's not something that's um, spent a whole lot of time on at in med schools. So there's some doctors that might know what it is, but haven't really experienced too much of it either. And through these conferences that we've been to with the National Foundation for Ectodermal Dysplasia, we've participated in advocacy days, and the different cities that we've been in for these conferences, the people at the foundation will set up like a grand rounds at different hospitals, and they'll get people with the different forms of ectodermal dysplasia to actually go and talk with the staff, the doctors, the nurses, so that there's more knowledge out there, more exposure, and um, teaching people and awareness too, so that the next person that comes in, the doctor already has seen or heard of it, and their road on this might be a little easier.
That's really cool. I think there's something really amazing when a doctor or a nurse or someone in medicine can learn about um, a condition or something special genetically from someone who personally has experience with it rather than just a textbook. I think, like you said, then the next time when they encounter someone who's maybe learning about it for the first time, then they already that's just, I think, makes them a better teacher to that family.
Mhm.
And that's really cool. I think that's really cool. um it is so crazy to me that I have known you guys like 8 years, and I didn't know that that's I didn't know you had Googled Susan,
Mhm.
and I didn't know that part of your story.
Mhm.
I'm always that's so wild, but that's so cool, and shows how important the work at any NFED is, and what good
Yes,
stuff they're bringing to the world.
yes, and through that, that's how we met Dr. Bree. We actually met her at St. Louis at that conference.
Mhm.
So we've known her since that time. And it's been a wonderful relationship ever since. She became Zach's dermatologist and a personal, very close friend on top of it.
That is so cool. So Zach, actually, that leads me to sort of a question I have for you, and I want to think if I can put it, if how I want to ask it. So Zach, a lot of times when I'm talking to a parent of a younger kid or even sometimes a teenager, and I'll say, well, what would you think if I put together a day for them where they could meet other kids with ectodermal dysplasia or other kids with alopecia or fill in the blank? And the parent will say, well, I don't want them to do that because I don't want them to feel like they're singled out or like there's something special about them. I want them to feel like they're just like everybody else. So they don't want to have them come to an event like that. What would you say as someone who kind of grew up going to conferences and then camp? What would you tell that parent?
I mean, I would tell them not to worry about that, and not let their physical limitations or their appearance defy them. And what I mean by that is like they'll always feel like different than everybody else. Right? Don't get me wrong. Like I know I'm different than other people, but I don't let like what I look like or what I have define me in that regard. And then by going to camp, the kid or whoever I'm speaking to, whoever wants to go, feels more comfortable being different than other people. Uh, and I know I'm not really answering the question, but they get a sense of like, okay, I'm not alone in having a physical difference than that not a lot of other people have. Um, and like I went to Camp Bernardillo, had tons of fun there. Uh, I did a bunch of activities like rope swings, rock climbing, swimming in the pool, whatnot. But there's all sorts of kids from different walks of life there. Kids had alopecia, vitiligo, ectodermal dysplasia, and all other sorts of conditions. Uh, and they just all felt at home because all the kids are very friendly there. The counselors were very good to us, and they understood like trying to make every kid feel as good as possible about being themselves and being who they are. And for me, that really grew my confidence in being or having ectodermal dysplasia, as I'm sure it did with a lot of other kids who had their respective syndromes.
You know, you said you weren't answering my question, but I feel like you did perfectly. And I think one thing you said really stood out. So you were saying, like, it's not about sending them to that camp that's going to make them feel different. They already know there's something special about them or there's something a little bit different about themselves. And sending them to camp doesn't highlight that. Instead, it highlights that there are others experiencing the same things.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Zach, can you just come with me everywhere I go so you can help me tell people?
Yeah, I love to travel the world. So give me an opportunity, and I will follow you.
Perfect.
I would gladly ditch this person.
Oh my goodness. So, okay, and actually, Susan, when you were talking about the conferences and some of the benefits of going to the conferences, and I feel like are seeing, like with camp conferences, a children's house for the soul, what good things Zach got out of it. And you were saying that you got a lot of education. One thing you told me a couple weeks ago is you were talking about some helpful things you heard from some doctors and some things you kind of are glad that you sort of didn't take to heart. Will you talk with those a little about sort of what things helped from medical professionals?
So I'll start with the negative and then end with positive.
I love that.
So I was sitting in a session with other parents that had the ectodermal dysplasia children. And we had a couple doctors in the room with us that were leading a session. And I think it was just a general session about, our children and being able to Q&A with the doctors. And this one particular doctor, someone asked a question about how to best prepare if our children wanted to play sports, and what should we do for them? What should we look for? Precautions we should take, that kind of question. And this doctor answered, well, I don't know why you'd put them in sports. I would think you just want them to be like in a swimming pool. Why would you want them to play football or basketball and put them, in danger because of their heat intolerance? And that really rubbed me and quite a few other parents the wrong way that were in that room, because we've always taken the approach, Zach's dad and I, that Zach, we wanted him to set out to do anything he wanted to do and attempt anything he wanted to do, obviously within safety reasons. But if he wanted to play baseball in Texas, then he was going to play baseball in Texas.
Mhm.
If he wanted to play golf, that's what we were going to do. There's other kids that wrestled and played football and all that. So we took all the precautions necessary so that he could play baseball and golf. We made sure that we had the Gatorades, a cooling towel for him, that we got him into shade. If he was getting too hot, we took him to where he could get cooled off. But he loved those games so much, we wanted to make sure that he could do that. So that doctor telling you, no, you can't, we always went with the approach of, well, why not? Why can't you? And I think that you need to do that. You can't let the syndrome rule your life. And that's with anything, whether you have ectodermal dysplasia or alopecia or vitiligo or anything. Don't let it rule your life. You have to, be your own advocate. You have to live your life and, oh, you've got this, but it's just a side thing.
You're saying instead of learning your limitations, learn the modifications you can make.
Exactly. And that's what we did. We modified how he could play golf and baseball and watched him, monitored him, and he's learned how to deal with it. There's some young men that have grown up and gone into being firefighters and all, and you wouldn't think someone that couldn't sweat would become a firefighter, but they gave modifications instead of succumbing to limitations. So I think if we all could do that with, life, with whatever you're dealt with.
Yes, that's good advice for everybody. Zach, I feel like I see something kind of your wheels turning there. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I just agree with what she's saying.
Yeah.
It
I
just,
bet for you can't even imagine what it would be like to have, a parent who didn't do that. And you're probably so glad.
I'm extremely blessed to have my mom and dad be who they are, and being as supportive as they were. And she searched for probably the first 3 or 4 years of my life, just trying to find what I had and stuff. We went to God knows how many doctors, trying to, or not by my account, by her telling me this, uh, going to dentists and stuff, going to physical therapists and stuff. Some doctors saying I probably couldn't walk later in life, or them telling me, oh, he's missing a lot of these teeth. Uh, and but she had the nerve and I guess composure to find uh, out what was wrong with me and act upon trying to make me feel better about myself in that regard of being different than other people. And then going to family conferences, checking with other parents, uh, making sure that I became friends with those people. They did so much for me that I'm so thankful for.
I love that. And it's not what was wrong with you, Zach, right? It was just what was different. Yeah,
Exactly.
totally. Oh my gosh. You guys are so awesome.
Well, and as
Susan,
sorry,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry. No, you go ahead, please.
So at these conferences and learning from the doctors, also on the positive note, there's a lot of empowerment in knowledge. And when we don't know something and we're afraid of it, we tend to back off and recoil and just live in our own little bubble. And by educating ourselves as to what ectodermal dysplasia was, how do we lost my train of thought. How we want to learn from it, learn about it, how do we want to live, fit it into our lives, made it much easier. And I can't emphasize getting educated enough, and being an advocate for your child and going to the doctors and telling the doctors, no, that's not acceptable. We're not going to just sit on the sideline. He wants to play football. He wants to play golf. Help us learn how to deal with that, or look, doing it yourself. So don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, that leads me to a question I hadn't even planned to ask you guys, but I think that you'll have some good thoughts for us. So, how do you guys remember sort of the transition from, and Zach, maybe this is more of a question for you, but from kind of when your mama would tell your coaches or your teachers kind of what to look at, and when you started kind of sharing with people yourself, or even saying to your friend, hey, if I look really hot, will how did you kind of transition to being Zach speaking up for Zach instead of what's natural, right? At first, mama speaks up for Zach. How did you and how do you remember that?
Uh, in contrast, I actually kind of remember being like I would tell them, and then she would also tell them. And I'm not trying to diss you or anything, but I like the first thing I would do when one of the first things I did when I met like with a coach, especially, or an adult, would say what I have, especially someone who's like overlooking me as like in a sport activity or whatnot. Like I have this, so please watch out for me. And then when I was meeting other kids, a lot of uh, a lot of people, and still now too, when I meet people at A&M and stuff, I'll shake their hand and they'll say, "Oh, your hand was different. What did you do?" And no, sometimes I'll jokingly say that I lost in the shark. I lost it to a shark off the coast of Australia or something like that, or something. But no. So to answer your question in a more short sense, I've always like made a point to tell them about what I have. Um, Because like I think that's one of the parts of introducing myself and making myself known to other people, is tell me this is what I have, but I don't want it to define me, and we shouldn't be friends or able to talk just because I have something like this. So
And by us going to these conferences and learning more about the syndrome and how to incorporate it into our lives, and then Zach being educated in it too, it helped him know who he is, what he has, and if somebody would ask, he could answer them. And he wasn't intimidated by someone saying, "Oh, well, what happened to your feet?" And he would be able to tell them, "Oh, I have ectodermal dysplasia. I was born this way. It's a genetic disorder." And even at a very young age, he would explain to kids and adults what he had. And I think that that gave him an empowerment or a confidence in being able to share that, rather than not know, I don't know, and just walking away or being intimidated and scared.
That's awesome. It's almost like then you never had to have the transition because you really started from a very young age of including Zach in all the conversations,
Mhm.
so that it really was sort of from the get-go. It was part of, so yeah, so Zach was a part of his own care and a part of his own advocacy.
Mhm.
Sounds like from almost age 6, maybe even a little younger.
Mhm.
That's the way to do it, you guys. That's awesome. I don't know if I let you finish the story about if you had a memory of something positive or empowering that a doctor shared with you guys as parents at one of the conferences, or if it was maybe an attitude in general.
Well, it wasn't at one of the conferences. So when I had first found the National Foundation for Ectodermal Dysplasia's website, the founder, Mary Kay Richter, I actually called the office shortly after finding the website, and I spoke to her and I told her about Zach and the anomalies that he was born with and all. And her words to me were, "Mom, it's going to be okay."
Hmm.
And that was the best. It's such a simple statement, but she was so right. It was going to be okay. because we had this. We were going to get through this and we were going to be okay. And his life, as a mom, you want your child to have the best life possible. And so by learning about the syndrome that we were affected by, getting educated, meeting the doctors, meeting other families, becoming a community there, continuing on with other foundations like the Children's House for the Soul, and meeting other people with even other skin issues. It's just helped build who we are, who Zach is, and it's a part of him and his personality. And I think when you do that, it just makes you a stronger person, and then you're more empathetic to all kinds of other people's issues or personalities or interests.
Yeah. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, what she said.
When I think about you in terms of how long I've known you and kind of watching you grow up, and now you're a young man, I feel like in a lot of ways you probably have learned to be more outspoken about different things, or maybe have just had lots of speaking opportunities. I don't know, that have made just been a part of who you are. And I'm sure you always would have had this amazing sparkling personality, but I think some of the challenges in your journey and some of the dips in the road and ways you've learned different things have impacted your ability to tell a story. And what would you say to that?
So that's true. I've given a lot of speeches to a lot of different people, NFD members at conferences and stuff, different boards of whatnot, the Rotary Club, a mom's club at St. Thomas, my high school I went to, and all around the country, St. Louis, New York, Houston, Dallas. Uh, and I think just having the unique experience I have with having adrenal dysplasia enhances those speeches of sort of this self motivation that I have this that has been that for a normal thinking person uh, would leave them in a pit of sorrow and like take away from their everyday lives and be a burden for them. Um, but I told them that I act like an exceptional thinker and kind of think abnormally, or what would seem normal for a person who has what I have, uh, to go leaps and bounds beyond what people think I'm capable of, and tell myself, no, this is not going to slow me down. I can't sweat what I have. Um, and yeah, it's definitely been a tool for me to get my message across to those people, uh, and to give the best advice I can and be helpful in any way I can.
And his mantra has always been, I've got ectodermal dysplasia, but it doesn't have me.
And that's powerful. That's powerful. And as a mantra you could apply to many other situations. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay, this is a little a veer off, but not too far. As you were talking about Zach's early memories and some of the dental experiences you had, I remembered that it's also Children's Dental Health Awareness Month. And Zach, I just wondered what your memories were of going to the dentist when you were younger, if you have any advice for dentists working with young kids who are maybe nervous, or if you had any adventure stories about.
Well, when I was a toddler, I remember going to the dentist and walking into the gates of hell.
Oh
Uh, I'm joking. I'm joking. Um, no, uh, no. I mean, it's definitely a different thing because most of them in that practice have never seen anything like that before. And so I just told them, if you have a patient that does have it, try to, with everything that they learn in their dental school and whatnot, try to learn as much about it as they can so that they can help that client. For me, I have a small mouth, and that's because of my bone structure and my jaw structure. So I've had, to teach. the dentist that I had, and then the orthodontist that I had. What the structure of my mouth is, and then taking all these X-rays and stuff. The braces that I had, uh, the procedures that I've had to remove the baby teeth that I've had. I'm getting my wisdom teeth out this summer, actually, so that'll be fun having my mom record me while I'm hallucinating. Um, but yeah, just give them advice. I teach them as much about it as possible so they can go about the best way of treating it. Uh, and I never have a bad experience at the dentist office, alone from throwing up after having mint mouthwash or something. Yeah,
Fluoride.
mint fluoride. Yeah. But I mean, I've had good experiences with all my doctors. I'm blessed to be able to say that. Um, but yeah, mom, you want to add anything?
Well, I think so. Well, with dentists can be very intimidating, especially to a young kid, because they've got tools and they're going into your mouth, and that's a foreign thing, especially to a little one. And the new is awful scary to little ones. You know, they love routine and same and all. So I would ask a dentist or anybody in the medical profession that's seeing these young children to just take that in mind and take it into account. It's not your first time seeing a kid, but it's their first time seeing you or seeing a tool like that. And maybe just explain to them what they're going to do and just maybe get down on their level. Hi, I'm, Dr. So-and-so. We're going to look at your teeth today. Can you show me your teeth? And just, maybe smile or something. Now I want you to sit in my chair now and let them be comfortable with the chair. Let them be comfortable. Look at the instruments. I need to use these to look at your mouth so I can see if your teeth are being strong and healthy. And just kind of talking with them, not down to them, a little more on their level, that terms that maybe they can understand. And that's going to, like I said at the beginning, knowledge is empowering. And by a child knowing what's going to happen and what's going to be done, it might be more comforting to them rather than just plopping them in the chair, prying open their mouth and sticking an instrument inside of it. Or if you're another type of doctor where the stethoscope might be scary, or any of the other instruments, the blood pressure cuff or something like that. Just explain what you're doing. And I think a child's going to be a lot more comfortable.
Absolutely. Well, as a child life specialist, I love that. So that's great advice. Yeah, that's awesome. I was thinking about, we talked for a while about sports. And one of the things I always loved that you shared, Zach, because I was always learning about everything from you guys, is about your fastball when you pitched. Will you kind of explain how you discovered kind of that your finger shape helped with your fastball?
Yeah, I knew you had baseball real quick.
Oh, yay!
Okay. Kimberly, edit this part.
Even if she doesn't, it's just the natural flow of the conversation.
So, I kind of just learned naturally by throwing a baseball that I can't throw a straight pitch. And so I have a baseball right here. Basically, I grip my fastball kind of like that. So I have my index finger and my middle finger kind of in the middle there. Uh, that's a two-seam fastball. But when I release it spins off of that finger and then like spins too much as where it doesn't go exactly straight. It always has some sort of movement on it, which as a pitcher you want it to happen. Um, and then a four-seam fastball or a splitter, I kind of put kind of like that. I don't involve this finger as much,
Put it up.
so it doesn't have as much movement on it. And for a curveball, I utilize that finger and it gives more break to it, as I've learned. So yeah, it's definitely helped me pitch. And people tell me, well, are you ever gonna try to correct it? Well, if I do, then I'll throw it straight all the time. It won't be nearly as good as a pitcher.
I feel like I'm gonna have to say the time code on this part of the video so that young baseball players with ectodermal dysplasia can look and be like, okay. And I know everyone's hands look a little bit different, but how inspiring and how like helpful to start thinking about it. I just think that's so cool. So I had to have you share that part.
Well, yeah,
Hopefully not too many secrets though.
using his unique fingers to his advantage and changing it into a talent versus a hindrance. Or,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm serious. I think there could be a workshop. Like I can see young athletes going, okay. So speaking of, I think that I've heard a little bit, what other modifications, I remember the towel, because I'm just thinking if anybody who's sort of younger or newer to learning about either whether they have ectodermal dysplasia and don't sweat, or there could be something else that causes them not to sweat. What are some of the other modifications you guys did for sports to kind of help?
Yeah, the cold towel was definitely the biggest one. Called a fraud tog. Just basically pour water in it or dip it in water. We kept it in a cooler to keep it cool all the time. But then pretty much after every hole, they would put it around my neck and then wring it so that cold water would pour down my back, and it also pour on my wrists and then head. Just people don't notice because a lot of your blood flow goes to your wrists, and that's the easiest way to cool yourself down, and also on your head.
Nice.
And I drink a lot of water and a lot of Gatorade. I mean, it's important for anybody to keep themselves hydrated when they're playing a sport, but for people like me who can't sweat and people who have adrenal dysplasia, it's important to do that. And then also, like if you can, pour some of the water that you don't drink on your wrists and on your head to keep yourself cool. Um, and that's what I did.
and just some other typical things living in Texas that you're used to, lightweight clothing.
Mhm.
We would make sure that he had shade when available. If he was playing golf and waiting to take a shot, if there was a space of shade available, having him stand over in the shade, keeping him hydrated. Because as we all know, heat stroke can happen quickly, but if you're hydrated, you're going to fight against that heat stroke element. Also, just watching times of day or getting him if he was playing baseball. Okay, we knew he was going to be out in the field for a period of time. Letting the coach know, okay, he can't, if it's going to be the inning's going to go on too long, if we can change him, or let's get him into the dugout and sit in the shade for a while, and having those cooling towels available in the waters and pouring it on his head. Cooling vests are also very popular with the ectodermal dysplasia community. Zach had one, but didn't wear it very often, but it kind of fits like a life vest, but has cooling elements in it to where you can wear it and it keeps the core of your body cool. And that seems to help a lot of the people that are more affected with the sweat glands than Zach is.
Gotcha. That's good stuff. I feel like there are probably people who need, all the tips and tricks, and that's something that, do you feel like you get more of those from other families than maybe you do from doctors, and or is it a balance?
I mean, we get them from both, but probably from the families and whatnot, because we see them a lot more often.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, you know, families sharing their trials and tribulations and experiences gives a lot more validity, or not that doctors aren't credible, but when you've lived it and done it and tried it, you can give a better story or a better evaluation of something, or how to handle something, or here's what we tried and it may not work for you, but it's worth a try.
Yeah. Well, I imagine, parents and kids, you're trying different things all day, every day. So you've got the most research and hands-on experience at your disposal when you're talking to other kids and parents. So that makes sense.
Some doctors can be too clinical and not realistic. And they may give you a clinical answer or in the doctor world, politically correct answer rather than um, telling you to possibly try some other things. They may not be allowed to tell you
Hmm.
about some of those other things that, um, and a parent will tell you that and give you their honest evaluation too. Well, that didn't work for us, but here's what did.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, I think I just have one last question for you guys. If you could leave the world with sort of one piece of advice or one thing that you might like to share, one word of wisdom, and it could be about anything in any of your experiences. It could be about interacting with someone who has a difference or a challenge, or it could be anything. What would you share?
So, so one word?
No, we just, pieces of words are,
Yeah, no, no, I know you, man. I was just trying to be silly.
Sorry.
No, well, I think the most important lesson from all that we talked about is like, don't let your disability overcome you, and don't let it define you.
Oh, there goes our house phone. Sorry. I
Um,
turned the ring
That's
down.
okay.
she can edit this out.
Well, and we can just wait.
Okay. We'll just
Yeah.
let it ring for a minute. Okay.
I understand. Don't let your disability define you. That's the main thing I would take away from it. Now I have had people like disown me for having what I have, and those people are idiots. And I'm not saying that the kids that watch this won't have those people in their lives, but just like don't listen to them, and don't let what you have define you, and don't let it overcome you. They're capable of so much more than what other people would tell them that they are. Me, I've won 30 golf tournaments, 4 state championships in baseball, uh, been all over the world, teaching others about what I have and stuff. Um, and it's been a blessed life. And other every other kid like me can have the same opportunity.
Yeah, and I think just if you educate yourself and know what you're dealing with, it's going to give you that empowerment and that confidence. And like Zach said, don't let it define you. Don't let it that be what you're known for or known as. You're so much more. There's human beings have so much more to offer, and there's so much talent and love and all of that that individuals have to give. And a syndrome or a disorder certainly is just a small part of who a human being is. And just let that heart show through and your mind, and um, the rest will come.
That's beautiful. Okay, I cheated though. I thought of one more thing. Is that okay? You guys were sharing, and I was like, oh no, there's so many more good things to ask them, but I'll keep it. I'll keep it. But I wanted to ask from both of you, Zach, if if a kid see someone in their class and they want to ask them about their difference, or they want to ask them questions, what are some ways that you don't mind being asked, or what kind of advice would you give if someone had a question?
I mean, it varies from person to person, but personally, I mean, I don't mind someone asking me, dude, what happened to your toes, man? Or your feet or your hands? As long as they like ask like that, and I'd be like, dude, I can't believe your hand looks like that, man. That was ugly. I mean, people don't do that to me, but I mean, just be accepting. Like they want to like generally know like what your difference is, and and let them understand you, so you can help them uh, understand yourself better.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
asking in a sincere manner, like
Mhm.
you're truly interested in really what they're affected by, or what happened to them, or what they're affected by, um, and really wanting to know instead of coming at it from a negative approach or a um, bullying type approach.
Yeah. So your intentions being clear and it being kind, there isn't necessarily a perfect way to say it if your intentions are good and clear.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because by telling that person your story or explaining what you're affected by, whether it be ectodermal dysplasia or whatever, that person may tell another person or two other people, or hey, what's that Zach Ham? What does he have? And someone telling him, and then it just having the trickle effect, and then more people know about it, and the more people that know about different things, then the better off the people that are affected by it are, because then people know, oh, he just got ectodermal dysplasia. That's okay.
Yeah. Remove some of the mystery. So finding out and asking instead of looking and maybe even staring but never asking might be better to just find out.
Because sometimes the stares can be hurtful to people that are affected, and then they feel intimidated or scared themselves.
I've even heard from some of my kids that people have maybe gotten better at not staring, but then they won't look at them at all. It's like they're not even there, which
Mhm.
you wouldn't want either. We got to balance. Just look somebody in the eye and say hi, right? Okay, Susan, last one. I was thinking of what advice would you give? Like, if you can imagine there's two young moms, and one wants to come alongside another mama who's trying to find out what's going on with her little one. Sort of like in that stage that you were sort of Googling, going to
Mhm.
doctors. How could have someone been a good friend to you? Or what were other people in your life a good mama friend to you?
Oh, well, so many of them. But just the support, helping find more information out about the syndrome, like for our instance, the ectodermal dysplasia, um, finding if there are any people in the area that are also affected. Just being that support system that we all need for everything. I mean, we need it in life for just anything, whether you're affected with something or not. You need the support group. We're human beings aren't meant to go through life alone. We love each other, and this is what this pandemic has taught us. It's hard not to see people and be with them because we um, enjoy other people's company so much. So, um, and I'm talking in circles, but just having the support system, just supporting in whichever way you can by helping educate or helping find a doctor or just being there to maybe watch the other person's child while they can have some computer time to do some research or to maybe go meet with a doctor, or maybe they need help in going to the doctors or finding a advocacy group or a mom's group or something that supports kids that have any kind of disorder or issue. um, just what you'd want in any kind of friendship or any kind of support. And when you're just a new mom with a baby anyway, you need all kinds of support. Okay, where do you buy the best diapers? Where do you get your formula? And so simple things like that, or more complex things like doctor visits and helping find um, educational opportunities about the particular child's syndrome. Or does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think what you're saying is there isn't really a wrong way to be there for someone. And
No.
there's no one perfect way either. So just be.
Mhm.
And then you're there. I think sometimes people get caught up in, oh, I didn't know what to say, or I didn't have the right words, or and it's really just about being there and being
Yes.
there.
Yes. Just like anything, we all just need support, and we need the reassurance would be a big thing too, um, in the support, and that it is going to be okay. Just like I was told by the director from the NFED, it is going to be okay, and you're going to get through it. Some days may be harder than others, but it is going to be okay.
And you're the right mom for the job.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Jury's on that one.
Well, guys, thank you so much for being here to share. Is there anything I didn't ask about that you want to tell the world? We covered some good stuff.
Just being your child's biggest advocate and forming a support system for them too, letting them know they're not alone and not isolating them and not keeping them away from the world.
Community.
Yes, absolutely. Community.
Yeah.
And yes. And involvement doesn't have to mean several hours a day or a week or a month, just involvement between small groups of people or just the support.
And all I'm by saying that we love a children's house and all that you do. We love Miss Lindsay. We love, of course, Dr. Bree, the very emotional, happy-go-lucky lady. And we very much thank you for having us on here to talk about it.
Oh, thank you guys. It was awesome. Well, I will let y'all go so you can go watch the Super Bowl and have a great night. And thank you both so much. We love you guys too. And we'll talk again soon.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks, Lindsay.
Go Chiefs.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Nobody cried making this video.
Yeah, hey, check us out.
We'll talk to you later, Lindsay. Bye.
Bye, guys.